Early this year, I released my F1 2024 predictions, and it's time those were updated. A lot has changed in the first part of this season, and it's time to see if there are going to be some changes, which is, yes, potentially not a Red Bull though. I still think that Sergio Perez may not do enough to survive as Max Verstappen's teammate for next season. Whether or not he survives the full season next year is yet to be seen. That ultimately depends on what happens at what will ever AlphaTauri be called. But Perez, second place in Belgium, the more 1-2s Perez gets in the remaining part of the season, the closer he is to getting over the line, securing that Red Bull drive for next season. He already has a contract in place for next season with Red Bull as well. So 2025 could be interesting should Red Bull not wish to get rid of him early. Ferrari, dear Ferrari. Things are changing at Ferrari. The relationship between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, I think, is at an all-time low. Now, I don't think Sainz is going to leave yet. Both have a contract for next season, so I don't think that Leclerc or Sainz will leave. I think Leclerc is going to be there for a long time to come. He is now the favourite of the two drivers under Frederic Vasseur, where they were previously more equal under Matteo Binotto. Sainz, though, is becoming increasingly frustrated with Ferrari. The fact that he's not able to attack Leclerc in a car that isn't that great, in arguably at times has been the fifth fastest or fourth fastest car on the grid recently. That's, at Silverstone they were slower than Aston Martin, for example. There's been loads of hiccups along the way. As typical Ferrari, they have not changed their spots over the first part of the season. Now, I don't think there's going to be any movement for next year, and that's because of the rumours coming out about Carlos Sainz. There's rumours that Sainz has already signed a pre-contract agreement after his contract ends at the end of next season to move to Sauber, and this is because of Audi. Now, obviously, this has verifications on what's going to go on Sauber, but basically, he's going to be Audi's star driver. They were looking at Norris, but I think if McLaren continue their current performance, Lando will probably stay at McLaren or move to a Mercedes or a Red Bull. And Audi for him is now starting to look a little bit more of a risk, where for Sainz, who's becoming frustrated, the options are pretty much Sauber or Alpine. And Alpine is not looking that great. Mercedes, I don't think we're going to see a change. Hamilton's almost about to renew his contract, and I mean he's rediscovered his god tier form. To be honest, if the car was close to the Red Bull, we would have a title fight on our hands like 2021. Like Hamilton is wiping the floor with Russell this season. He's been consistent. He scored 4 podiums already. I think there's going to be a few more to come once they discover where that their car is strong. It's still got a lot of work to do, Mercedes, but I think Hamilton has been convinced to stay. He's in it for the long run now. I think he's going to carry on until either he gets bored or he can't carry on anymore. Looking at Fernando, they're both members of the cursed post 300 club that never won a race once you go past 300 Grand Prix. Yes, Russell, I feel like is potentially the more likely to leave, but apart from potentially Norris, I don't see really any potentially obvious candidates, maybe like a Perez or Ricciardo coming into that role, but they're both at the end of their careers, and I don't think they'd get rid of Russell, who, as I said before, has been seen at the future of that team. He needs to be more consistent in the second half of the season if he wants to look at a contract beyond 2024 potentially. McLaren, they're definitely not going to be changing their lineup. Norris and Piastri, the only Norris is probably going to stay. There was an article about him leaving potentially, but with options limited for 2024, the top teams, I think he'll stay. And not only that, McLaren's renewed performance, at times they've been the second fastest team on the grid. They still need to work out how they were so that slow as a Spa compared to other tracks. But if they get a couple of good weekends, and there are people saying that Aston Martin and Ferrari could very well much finish behind McLaren. Piastri as well, I mean, he's going to be there at least for the foreseeable future, at least another 5 years, I reckon, before they'll let him leave because of the excruciating pain that they went to get him in the first place. Aston Martin, don't see a change there. Mainly because of Daddy Stroll. Is he going to chuck out his own son? He's obviously come out big claims saying Lance will be the same performance as Fernando at the end of the season. That's clearly not going to happen. Stroll is struggling, and if Aston Martin can't find they say they need to reverse that upgrade on that car, but even then, I still don't think Lance has enough. Even in the early areas, he's saying that, oh yes, he was obviously affected by limited pre-season running, which is true, that would affect him, but he should have picked up by now, and if he was going to be close to a Fernando, I think he would have been already. I don't think though that Daddy Stroll will get rid of his son, and I think that Alonso and Stroll are going to be around for years to come as a partnership for now. Alpine, yeah, oh dear, this team is in chaos. Obviously they've got no team principal at the moment because Otmar Schouten has been fired. They've got no whatever that other bloke was doing as well. Do I see a change? Possibly. Like Ocon and Gasly are, they don't always get on. They have tried to mend the fences, whether or not they've tried to put the past behind them after falling out during the junior categories. I don't know. There's a couple of candidates that could replace, and I say Gasly because Gasly is the one who's behind in the championship. Ocon's been there longer. He's got more points currently in the Drivers' Championship, and for them, maybe for 2024 they try something different. I don't know. It depends what they're going to plan with their upgrades, because for me, if I was Alpine and if I was in charge of Alpine like I'm in my manager career mode, we would definitely be 100% in the situation we're in, focusing on 2024 car, because we're unlikely, unless we're going to have a significant step forward like McLaren, are unlikely to be able to therefore get anything other than 6th place in the Constructors' Championship. They're on 47 points. They're about 40 points behind McLaren and about 45 in front of Haas and Williams. So they're way out in front. They're sort of in the middle of nowhere. They need to focus on next season. Obviously, a new team principal, Matteo Binotto, has been mentioned. But obviously, Sainz isn't going to. We don't think Sainz is going to move at that moment. So, if Ocon is the one to stay, well, Gasly could end up getting the boot, and I don't think he will. I think they'll try and stick it out for another year with Pierre before they make the decision. Give him another seat, give him another chance to perform, rediscover that thing. He says, he has said, Pierre, this has been the worst season for luck he has had in his Formula 1 career. Potentially a fresh start for him. Could be that. Replacements, I see 2 of them. Jack Dooham, who is, of course, Alpine's junior driver, and Théo Pourchaire, who's French, and is a Sauber junior driver, I should point out. Now, I'll come back to Théo in a moment, but obviously for Jack, he needs to improve his performances because I don't believe he's not close to the title. Correct me if I'm wrong if you watch Formula 2 in the comments below, please. As well, I think that there'll still be Ocon and Perez for the time being, though. Sauber, yes. With Sainz potentially incoming for 2025, business as usual. Bottas apparently already has a contract, so it's just about getting Zhou in, which is such a shame for Théo Pourchaire because he is having a very good season again in Formula 2. He's clearly in a position where he's ready to make that next step up, or at least needs to be given a chance to make that next step up. And so far, he's not been given it as a member of the Sauber Driver Academy. If I was him, I'd be looking elsewhere, possibly at Ferrari's Driver Academy, because Arthur Leclerc is really the nearest Ferrari have got at the moment, and it's not that great if they're looking for potentially somebody to come and replace Sainz in the future. If they're not able to get somebody elsewhere, then getting Pourchaire in early could be good for them as well. And I'll come back to potentially where they could place Pourchaire. Won't be at Sauber, as I said, because they'll be having Zhou and Bottas. Possibly at Haas. There's obviously rumours about what's going to happen at Haas. Neither of their drivers have a contract for next season with the team, so there could be a complete change. Again, Gasly, I think, this could be a good fit for him if the car improves, because the car has been terrible again. You know, they've used all their money up on 2022. 2023's car is way behind. As well, obviously Pourchaire, if he's a member of the Ferrari Junior Academy, instead the Sauber one, would be a good fit here as well. Hulkenberg, I think, is likely to stay if they're going to get rid of one of their drivers in place of Magnussen. That's just my feeling, but they could very well just stick with both of them, because the Haas has been poor, very poor race pace. But Magnussen has definitely struggled, got a lot of Q1 knockouts and only 2 points to his name. So him, it might be the exit door for K-Mag, unfortunately for K-Mag fans. Williams, Albon is confirmed there already. I mean, he's Williams' future for the time being. Now, his teammates, I've spoken already, if you follow me on what used to be called Twitter, about Logan Sargent and how the fact he's nothing more than an American Latifi. Yeah, I don't think he's scoring points this season. He was brought in, the main reason to get rid of Latifi was so that they could have two drivers at challenging points. Same with Haas. Sargent is not doing that. Now, there's two names that could replace Logan Sargent. One is being already heavily linked, and that is Alex Palou. Palou is already snubbing McLaren over their contracts for him to drive an Indy car. And again, it's a contract saga involving McLaren as well. You know, he had a contract to do some testing for McLaren, but he had to drive for Chip Ganassi, which was the result of that other dispute, because they had two last summer as well. The other driver that could be potentially linked, apart from Mick Schumacher, who I'm not entirely sure will potentially get that seat, Frederick Vesti. He's currently the championship leader, I think, in F2. Correct me again if I'm wrong about that. Vesti is a Mercedes junior driver. Obviously, Mercedes still supply Williams. I presume that James Vowles has Mercedes links, and obviously will be able to get money off their powertrain. So they've been trying to build new facilities and can't because of the budget cap. Imagine having money off on the powertrain to have Vesti in your team to be able to dedicate that more to new facility upgrades. That could be Williams' ticket to the midfield. We'll have to wait and see. And the final team is we don't actually know the name of it, because it potentially could be Hugo Boss Bulls Racing has been rumoured. Obviously, Hugo Boss or Joe Lycett, as I mentioned in yesterday's video. Obviously there's strong links that they'll be the new title sponsor for that team in 2024. Now, if Liam Lawson does not get a drive for AlphaTauri for next season, he should look for a team elsewhere, because he deserves a chance to get into Formula 1. Yes, he hasn't done that much well in Formula 2. He's been there or thereabouts, hasn't won the championship, but he's doing very well and across a wide range of racing categories. He's doing very well in Super Formula, and I think he's like second in the championship over there. He almost won DTM, but Alex Albon a few years ago, when Alex Albon, I think, finished ahead of him or something like that. So he was close to there. I think if he doesn't get the seat next year, then how is he going to get a seat at AlphaTauri or whatever they're going to be called next season? What else does he have to do? Who knows? Now, his teammate's a little bit of an issue, because he potentially could see, if Perez stays, Ricciardo versus Tsunoda for that second seat if Lawson is installed there. That would be interesting. And at the moment, it's Tsunoda, not Ricciardo. Tsunoda got that point at Belgium. Ricciardo obviously made that mistake in qualifying. That really cost him as well. But yeah, those are my 2024 drive predictions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you think will be driving next year. If you are new around here though, then please do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. Until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, enjoy your day, and goodbye.